Hey guys, Christy here. So I'm way late on doing some book reviews and some wrap-ups. So I'm going to do my April wrap-up now. I am so sorry that it's end of May, but I'm getting May squared away. I think I might do a review on the books I've read so far and then a smaller review on the few books that I still have to finish up for May. I think I might just break it up like that because I have the books already here. Might as well do it. I'm working on making more videos, getting more comfortable in front of the camera, and writing down my thoughts. I've not been so great with that, but look, see my. All right, Christy, learn where the camera is. I'm writing down my thoughts in my always fully booked planner, which I've moved. So, I read a total of 8 books. Now, let's see. 2 of those were really small, like novella type books. They were very, very, very thin, like this one. And one was ginormous. 2 solid books put in one, at least. And then the other one that was ginormous, it's just we finished up. It's something I finished up in April. But April was not a great reading month for me. My daughter had her baby on the 4th of April, so I was very, very busy helping her with the newborn. I still help her out some, but not as much as I did in the beginning. So May's been much better than April. I'm not happy with 8 books. I feel like I'm way behind on my goals, my Goodreads goals. Like I put it way higher than normal, and I'm not halfway there yet. My own personal demons, I suppose. Anyway, I'm gonna start out with my least favorite and go to my favorite because, you know, saving best for last. So, the least favorite of the month, which kind of surprised me when I was looking over my rating scores, might have just been where I was at the time. I don't know. Maybe it's we'll just go with it. Is The Smell of Other People's Houses by Bonnie Sue Hitchcock. Now, this book, it has 4 perspectives. There's Ruth has a secret that she can't hide forever. Dora wonders if she can ever truly escape where she comes from. Alice can't bring herself to leave the life she's always known, and Hank and his brothers decide it's safer to run away. So now you go back and forth between these 4 characters. It might tell the towns that they're in, or town that they're in, but it's a little bit jumbled in the beginning, and it kind of takes you a while to then, because it jumps back and forth and back and forth. So it takes you a minute to figure out, okay, which character was this again, and what was going on in their life, and that kind of bugged me a little bit. Now, as far as the depth of the book and the plot of the book, there wasn't a whole lot to it except for kind of when it came to in the end. And I gave it a 3-star. And I gave it a 3-star because I enjoyed it, but, you know, wasn't like a new favorite. It wasn't like, oh, I really loved that. And it seems like it was set like in the 80s-ish, something like that. It was kind of depressing. It was kind of way depressing. It brought me down a little. I had to set it down and come back to it. But ultimately, what I think like I learned from it was you never really know what's going on in another person's life. And if you take the time to listen and get to know a person, then you might be able to help each other out with your stuff. And that's kind of what these characters did. They ended up coming together in the end, and all kind of for a better possible life. But there's some pretty horrible things that go on. Like there's definitely triggers for teen pregnancy and depression and maybe even a little bit of alcoholism and child abuse. And then just like runaway kids, you know, that need help. It's very depressing, but in the end, they all kind of come together in a way. So for that, like, I enjoyed that. Like, I enjoyed that there was kind of a happy-ish ending, and they all kind of grew. They had character growth. So because of that, I gave it a 3, but it was my least favorite of the month. But following very closely, and I mean very closely to that one, let me just switch pages over here, is Echo North by Joanna Ruth Meyer. Now, this was a buddy read with Mika Chi over on her Patreon Discord account, and a few of us get together and we buddy read books every month. And all of us had a tough time getting through this. Now, I gave this a 3.5 in the end because of the ending. The ending was so strong. I enjoyed the beginning, and I really enjoyed the ending. Middle part, not so much. It just was so discombobulated. And so this follows Echo, this girl, and as a child, she frees a white wolf in a trap, and as she's freeing it, it kind of freaks out and claws her face. And so she has a very vivid scar on her face. And back in whatever middle century she's in, being a scarred individual, they look at her like she's the devil, she's evil, and so she has a hard childhood. Her mother is dead. It's just her father and her brother and her, and I did love that her father owned a bookstore, and she worked in that, and her father and her brother were fantastic to her. This might get a little spoilery, so plug your ears maybe. Her father remarried. That lady was a witch. And anyway, one day she ends up coming across this white wolf who says how, like, her father is he's like stuck out in the snow and he's gonna die, and he might freeze to death, and he's like, listen, I'll save your father if you come and live with me for a year. And so she's like, whatever, I guess, I don't have anything better to do. And insert like this really weird messed up house that she's living in, like, all the parts are moving, the rooms are moving, like as you're walking in it, the rooms are moving and switching. And why? I should say this is a retelling of West of the Sun, North of the Moon, or I think that's how it goes. But as she's living in this house, she comes to care about the white wolf and what's going to happen to him, and she still has all these questions that she wants answered, but there's some evil queen or some witch maybe who has put a curse on him, and you know, kind of like Beauty and the Beast a little bit. But it's so discombobulated. It's just so weird in the middle. She ends up meeting this boy Howl, and one of the rooms is a library of these like glass books that she like ends up jumping into these books, and they're like interactive, which might be fun. But she ends up caring about this Howl, and it goes on and on. I don't really want to spoil it too much more than that. There is at the end like this kind of travel and adventure to save the white wolf from the evil witch, and that part is fantastic. And I loved how it ended, but it took me forever to get through it. Like, I just didn't want to pick it up when I was in that middle part. So the only reason it's a little bit higher than Smell of Other People's Houses is because of that ending. So the next one I gave a 3.75, and this was the book club book for the month of April with Murphy Napier, that her group on Discord that I read with, and it was Priory of the Orange Tree. Look, like my wording's come off. like in my book sleeve. I think it rubbed off, which I don't like, but anyway, by Samantha Shannon. And this isn't, I'm not gonna keep holding it up there. This is an 800-page behemoth. And the reason I give it a 3.75 is also about the last 300 pages. Now, the first 500 pages seemed like world building and setting stuff up. It shouldn't take 500 pages to do that. I just was not connecting with anything really, except for, now let me tell you about the characters. So we followed, there were several perspectives, like 5 or more at some point, but there was 3 main characters, really, that you follow. Their kind of backstory and stuff. And there's Ead, which is spelled E-A-D, and she's a spy and a mage, and also kind of like an assassin. And she's sent from the mages people to Ennis to protect Queen Sabran. So that's the other kind of, one of the other kind of characters. And she's young and a little bit spoiled, and she's a queen. Then there's Tane, who is a dragon rider. She has studied her whole life, like gone to school to do this, and is chosen because she's so good to become a dragon rider. Now, I didn't see near enough of the dragon riders. With a dragon on the front of the book, I assumed there'd be more dragons in it. I was disappointed in 800 pages that there wasn't hardly any of the dragon riders and dragons until the end part. And there was a little bit of the bad dragons, so it's basically bad dragons are rising, good dragons need to fight, and these countries need to come together, the East and the West, and they don't like each other, they don't trust each other, they don't want to. But 800 pages, y'all. Why did it take 500 pages is my question to get to the meat of the story. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the whole book, but there were parts that I was just so bored at. There was like a lot of the court politics, and court politics is something that I just don't care about unless it's like intrigue and spying and that kind of like action in the court. I don't really care about court politics. I stay away from politics as much as possible, books and real life. Like, I've had enough politics to last me a lifetime. Anyway, had it not taken 500 pages to maybe pick up for me, I would have scored it higher, but other people have raved about this book and just loved it. It was just slow going for a while for me, and it was a lot of world building. One of the positives I have to say, actually, there's 2 sets of LGBTQ love affairs. There's a female-female romance and a male-male romance. The female-female romance was a little weird for me. Like, it didn't make much sense. Like, in the end, I was like, well, that's kind of sweet. But took me 800 pages to get there. The male-male romance made a lot more sense. It seemed natural, and I loved that one. And I'm very happy that there were these 2 LGBTQ plus character romances in this book. It was one of my favorite things about it. But I just wanted more dragons, y'all. Dragon riders. I would have been interested in more of this school, the dragon school, the whole like team of dragon riders, focusing maybe on Tane, but it didn't happen. It was a good book. Okay. The next one I gave 4 stars to. And I've not read any of this author's books yet. I want to. I've heard good things. But that's The Test by Sylvain Neuvel, and his book is super tiny. Let's see how many pages is this. It's so little. 104 pages. But man, does it pack a punch. So this is about a man who goes in and, let me find my review. He goes in, his name is Eider. He goes in for to take a test to become a citizen of Britain. So it's like the Britain citizenship test, and it's in the not too distant future. And his family's in the waiting room, and he's taking the test, answering these questions. He's got this. He knows all the answers. And then poo hits the fan, people, and my anxiety level was up. Oh my god, up here throughout the entire thing. But it was so good. I really enjoyed how it ended, but man, oh man, this is a mind. It really is. Messes with your brain. And ultimately, for me, what it really made me think about, how do I judge others? How do people judge me? How do you judge a person's, like, whether they're qualified to be in your country or not, to like live and be a citizen in your country? Do you, like, what's good and what's bad? What do you consider good and bad? What do you, like, good characteristics and bad characteristics? And it goes over so many different things. And then well, I don't want to spoil anything else. If you want spoilery reviews, it's on my Goodreads, where I go into more detail, a little bit more detail. 4-star. The only reason it's not a 5-star is because of my anxiety. My heart was through my throat the entire time I was reading. 104 pages! That's an author I want to read again. Anyway. Okay. So this next one, also 4 stars, but this book, let's see, how many pages is this one? Oh, it's only like 670-ish. 660. This book, my son and I started in January, the audiobook. So the only time we really listened to it was when we were driving. And that is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. And everybody should, well, booktubers, possibly everybody would know what The Name of the Wind is about. And it follows this young boy, and it's kind of like a coming of age story. It follows this boy, and what happens to him as a boy, and the things that he has to overcome to get to school and to become, I want to say, like a mage type thing. Because this boy's name's Kvothe, and it goes back and forth between perspectives of Kvothe as a childhood and as he's growing up, to this like bar, like tavern owner, and this chronicler comes in and he's like, hey, I think you're Kvothe and I want your life story. And he's like, oh, I can tell you Kvothe's life story, but I'm not him. He's actually Kvothe telling his life story. But I don't know if he actually said I'm not him, or if he just kind of laughed it off. The reason it's only a 4-star for me instead of a 5-star is, well, first of all, like my son said, for him it's a 4-star because of how it goes back and forth, and it's very confusing. There's not like a, future time and past time. Like, there's not like a heading that says back to the past or back in the current. So sometimes it got really confusing. We'd be like, wait, what? And then the other reason is that for me it didn't wrap some of the things up that I wanted wrapped up. And I know that there's another book, and I haven't decided if I'm going to read it because the third book's still not out and nobody knows when it's ever coming out. So that kind of disappoints me a little bit and affects my scoring, honest. If I'm honest, just affects my scoring a little bit. But it is a good book. I really enjoyed it. My son and I enjoyed it. It was fun to listen to while we were in the car, just on our way to groceries or to the bank or school, all that kind of little stuff. That's what took so long, because that's really the only time we listened to it. So, that's that. Now, the next book I gave a 4-star to, but I might have to change that to 4.5 because I really enjoyed it. Now this is also a retelling of the Norwegian, I think it's like a fairy tale, and it's that East of the Sun, West of the Moon. Now, so I read 2 of those in 1 month. This one I read first. Might have ruined it a little bit for Echo North, but because this one was so good. It's set in 16th century Norway, and so it follows Rose and her family, and Rose's family is struggling on their farm. They're having to, kind of get rid of everything they own. They're starving, they're freezing, and are on the verge of moving. And she has seen this white bear, like a polar bear, out. And she tells her family, and they're like, yeah, right, white bear wouldn't be this far up. And but she's kind of seen it around. And her sister gets really sick, really, really ill, and they don't know if they can cure her. They've done everything they can. And then one day, the white bear comes to the door and says, if Rose can come with me, come live with me, I won't harm her. If she can come with me, I can cure your daughter and fix your money problems. And the mother right away is like, yeah, let's do that. And the father's like, no. And then Rose takes it upon herself to help her family out and leaves says goodbye, says I'm going, and leaves with the bear. Now she doesn't know that she has to live there for a year without finding out who he is. And it's an evil troll queen who saw him when she was a child, like this little prince boy, and she was like, oh, I want that human. I love that human, and so she took him. And her father, as punishment, said, you can't have him, but then punished the kid and turned him into a white bear. And these were kind of the circumstances. He had to pass this test, and if not, he would be a white bear forever. If he did pass it, then he'd go back to being human. So this was excellently written, and my favorite part though was, again, the end, the adventure part where she goes to save him because she feels like this is my responsibility. I messed it up for him and I need to go fix it. And her just like not giving up nature, and she's so kind to everyone she meets, and holy cow, the ending was fantastic. The romance, if you call it romance, is soft and sweet and subtle and very slow burning, and not even sure if it's there, honestly, but I loved it. The only downside was there were so many perspectives. Like, there's 5 different perspectives. There was the troll queen, the white bear, Rose's father, and Rose's brother, which was very weird. I'm not sure that it needed that many perspectives. Maybe every once in a while checking back in with the family, but between both, I don't know. I understood why we needed to hear from the troll queen and kind of what her thoughts were, because she's evil. Anyway, I loved it. I loved this book. Y'all need to read this book. I should have said spoilers. I'll put that up saying spoiler, because I might have said too much. I start talking and Okay, so the next 2 books are my 5 stars. I only had 2 5 stars. And this book, I should say that I read East with Kelly, Cozy Reader Kelly. We both enjoyed it. We both loved it. Um, this book I read with my friend Kristen, and we're part of Mikuchi and with Kai Voxender, Mikuchi's Discord thing, and we have a lot of fun in there. And so Kristen and my buddy read this together. It's Rebel of the Sands by Alwyn Hamilton, and I loved this so much, y'all. It was so good. It was so good. So this was a little bit of a coming of age, but more following this girl and her just pure will to get out of the hell she's in. Her parents are both dead. She's living with her uncle in the desert, the only town she knows, but it's kind of like a little dying town. It's like a little mining town. And the only thing she's good at is being like a sharpshooter. And she's real good at that. But she's a girl. And her fate is to be married off or to marry her uncle. Yeah, that's fun. And so then she disguises herself as a boy and to try to get away, and she ends up meeting Jen. And Jen is cocky and she's not sure what she thinks of him, but he offers her a way out and she's able to escape with him. And so then her name's Amani. I forgot my brain. So then Amani and Jen, it's kind of an adventure story of them. And then her escape out of this place, and then what she ends up running to, and it's a cause that she ends up deciding, hey, I agree with this cause, and it's just a good time, y'all. There is a little bit of romance between her and Jen. Like, come on, we all knew that was gonna happen. It's a YA book, that's the trope. But it's done beautifully because it is slow burn. And it's not in your face, because I can't handle that, y'all. It's a little bit of, no, it's not even the hate to love, because she doesn't hate him. She just doesn't really trust him in the beginning. She doesn't trust anyone. So, but she's strong, and boy is she wily, and I love that about her. I had such a good time reading this that there was nothing bad I could say about it. I loved the entire thing. It was one of my new favorites, and I actually read the second book this month in May. Loved it, and I'm going to read the third book in June. And I hope to love it as much as I loved the second. The second one might even be better than the first one. I'll tell you that in my May wrap up. Then the last 5-star, last book of the month. I'm sorry this is so long, but it was a 5-star for me. My favorite book of the month, one of my new favorite books, and that is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Brigid Kemmerer. And this book was so good. So this was a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and it was done beautifully. Like, bravo, Brigid Kemmerer. It follows 2 perspectives. One is this spunky girl. You would think she's like a New York City girl, but she actually is from DC, and her family is her name's Harper. I was looking that up. Her family is, well, her father has died, and he owed these kind of like mob boss types some money, and so that they have put the debt on Harper's mom and her brother. And so her brother ends up kind of being like the muscle for them, and so she goes out and is his lookout, basically, while he's going and doing muscling for these people, and he hates it. He's very sweet-spirited, and she hates it. He's having to do this, and she wants to help, but she's got cerebral palsy, and she has kind of a bum leg, and he just wants to protect her. He's like, no, 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 you can't do it, you can't do it. He just wants to protect her all the time, and she's like, gosh, I'm 17, I think she's like 17. And while she's on the lookout, she ends up going to save a girl who's being kidnapped, and ends up getting kidnapped herself to these like medieval times, different universe. And that's where Ren and Gray come in. Ren is a prince who has been cursed by an evil witch who he went to bed with, slept with, and then kind of dissed her the next day, like, oh, hey, like, I don't want anything from you. And it ticked her off, and she was like, oh, really? You want to do that to me? Then you're cursed. And so she places a curse on him that he turns into a beast, and it's I think he's a beast for like 30 days, but and then it's about 6 months until he turns into a beast again. And the only way to do that is to break this curse with what he assumes is like true love. So he has tried with girls in his own kingdom and ends up kidnapping girls from DC, like, well, his friend or like guard. It's the only person left alive with him. He has like beasted out and killed his entire family and everybody he knows. So the rest of the kingdom kind of doesn't come in close to the castle, but his kingdom is failing and dying, and this is the last chance he's got. Enter Harper, and she's like, anytime she starts to trust him, she's like, oh, no, I know about that Stockholm Syndrome stuff. Like, that's what this is. And she's very, like, she doesn't trust anything. She runs away several times, but she's got this giant heart. She sees his people hurting, and she wants to help them. It doesn't matter if she's going to die in the process. She's going to try and help these people. And so it's just a lovely book. Like, it was done so well, and I cannot wait for the next book to come out. I don't know if it's coming out this year or next, but holy cow, I will be pre-ordering it as soon as it is up for sale, because holy cow, so good, y'all. I love the representation of cerebral palsy. I love that it doesn't keep her down. She gets up and goes and doesn't let that bum leg keep her down. And she's like, you know what, just because I have this and just because I'm a girl doesn't mean I have to be like pampered and taken care of and I can't do anything and a man has to do everything for me. And she comes to kind of realize that on her own. It comes to her own power, and it's beautiful. And I won't say anything else because I probably rambled on and said too much about the story, but it really is beautiful. And Gray's my baby. Like, man, I might love him. He might be my new book boyfriend. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not the only one who loved Gray, but this was also a buddy read with Murphy Napier on her Discord with her Patreon group, and we had a good time with it. But that is all for my April wrap-up, y'all. I hope you enjoyed my reviews. Hope I didn't say too much. Anyway, I hope everybody's having a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!